are starving the children of Gaza. Thousands of children with spinal cord injuries and severe head injuries from which they'll never recover. Thousands and thousands of children with severe psychological distress that they may never recover from. And as a physician, I'm angry. I'm angry with myself that I'm not doing enough. I'm angry with everyone here. I'm angry with you. I'm angry with the world. This is an abomination. It's an abomination.
Right now we are in international waters of the coast of Malta, and there is the boat Conscience that last night was attacked by 2 drones on its mission to deliver desperately needed humanitarian aid to Gaza. We are seeing a systematic starvation of 2 million people, where not a single bottle of water has entered Gaza for almost 2 months. The world cannot be silent bystanders. This silence and passivity that we are seeing from most of the world is deadly. That is why every single one of us has a moral obligation to do everything we can to fight for a free Palestine.
It's hard for me to believe that the reality that I witnessed in Gaza actually exists as a parallel reality compared to my reality here.
Israel has cut off all their food, water, medicine, fuel, you name it, everything. All supplies have been cut off for Gaza for 64 days. The people are starving. Mass death, exile, and ethnic cleansing are fast approaching the people of Gaza, and it is our moral duty and responsibility to stand against these crimes, to stand against genocide, and to end our government's complicity in these crimes. The crimes that we are witnessing right now are the worst crimes that we will ever witness in our entire lives. The final solution was passed by a unanimous vote by the Zionist War Cabinet, with Israel's Minister of Culture saying, the goal is the complete occupation of the Gaza Strip, and with Israel's Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich saying, we are finally going to occupy Gaza. We will stop being afraid of the word occupation. There's no pulling the state of Israel back from this brink now that it has been set in motion, because Israel says that even if they get the hostages back, they are not stopping what they are doing. Smotrich continues on to say, no retreat from the territories we have conquered, not even in exchange for hostages. This confirms what we have all been saying, what I have been saying for 2 years straight, that this was never about the hostages, it was about the land. Palestinian land that Israel wanted to acquire for its dream, its Zionist dream of a greater Israel. As far as I see it, Israel has long forfeited their right to exist forever. Just remember that this all began with a tale of self-defense, of self-preservation. And look what it has turned into. The Holocaust of 2023, 24, and 25. The Nakba of modern day. The Nakba never ended.
There's a major development in the Middle East. Israeli officials tell the Associated Press that a new plan has been approved to seize all the territory in Gaza and then occupy it indefinitely.
Was against the will of over 70% of the people in Israel. Now, if implemented, hundreds of thousands of already displaced Palestinians will be pushed to southern Gaza, only worsening an already dire humanitarian crisis. For 2 months now, Israel has blocked all food, water, and medicine from entering the Palestinian territory, triggering what aid agencies are calling the worst humanitarian crisis there since the violence began nearly 1.5 years ago.
Like anybody with a heart, I spend my life teetering on the verge of tears.
Yes.
This is a post from a Chinese national saying, you guys are all blaming China, you're blaming us, but it's really your own fault, and America now needs a revolution.
They rob you blind and you thank them for it. That's a tragedy. That's a scam. That's why I'm saying this right now. Americans, you don't need a tariff. You need a revolution. For decades, your government and oligarchs only ship your job to China. Not for diplomacy, not for peace, but to exploit cheap laborers. And in the process, they hollowed out your middle class, crushed your working class, and told you to be proud while they sold your future for profit. And yes, China made money, but we used it to build roads, lift millions out of poverty, fund healthcare, raise living standard. We reinvested in our people. My family also benefited from it. What did your oligarchs do? They bought yachts, private jets, and mansions with golf course driveways. They manipulate the market, dodged tax, and poured billions into endless wars. And you get stagnated wages, crippling healthcare costs, cheap dopamine, debt, and flagged wave property made in China while they pick your pocket. for 40 years.
So in the latest bit of news that you'll never hear in Western media, it has been confirmed by the Israeli media that the Biden administration never once pressured the Israeli government for a ceasefire all throughout the genocide. This report basically confirms that nothing would have been materially different for Palestinians under a Harris presidency or a Trump presidency. And that's because this genocide is not a Republican or Democrat policy, it's an American policy. And it's not just limited to the genocide. If you look at history, most oppressive policies in America are actually joint projects between Democrats and Republicans. For example, the genocide started under Biden. It's continuing under Trump. Biden started bombing the Houthis without congressional approval. That continues under Trump today. In policing, the George Floyd protests that were against police violence happened under Trump, and police budgets actually increased under Biden. And in immigration, George Bush Jr. created ICE. It was built up by Obama, supercharged by Trump, maintained by Biden, and now we have the Gestapo knocking on our doors. And what all of that tells us is that none of this is Democrat versus Republican, left versus right, red versus blue, whatever you want to call it. It's all America versus the world. It's top versus bottom. And honestly, that's the more interesting and realistic way to be looking at politics. And if you aren't, you're missing most of the picture, and that's being used against you. Because never forget that Democrats willingly sacrificed an election in order to protect Israel. They decided that your rights that are being taken away and infringed upon right now was a price that they're willing to pay. And if you're a Democrat voter, how does that make you feel? How does it make you feel that Democrat leaders went onto stage and said that they're working tirelessly for a ceasefire when all of that was a complete lie? And how does it feel that we even have to debate with liberals and progressives whether or not to support Palestine, when this should be one of the most clear-cut moral issues of our time? This is how our society ends up how it is today, because the Democrats have never had our interests at heart. They'll say that they're fighting for the working class, but they'll never give us what we want unless they're actually afraid of losing power. And building a united front that can actually address the needs of the people and defeat fascism. Because honestly, anything less than that, and we're right back in the same spot in 20 years or so.
Really rich people taking over the government and changing the government so it only works for them. Oligarchy.
Jesus, corporate media talking about oligarchies like they're not the instrument of an oligarchy is a whole new level of blatant corruption hidden in plain sight, because they're trying to hijack the new class-conscious rich versus poor narrative that's beginning to appear organically amongst the general population. Their loyalty to the Democratic Party and once again be duped into the idea that that's somehow ever going to serve their best interest, and the people who lean to the right will abandon the cause altogether and reaffirm their loyalty to the Republican Party and the fictional notion of the good guy billionaire who claims to be fighting a system he's spent his entire life leeching off of and milking dry. That way, any kind of unity that might create meaningful change has been redirected into once again dividing the people. This person works for MSNBC, which is owned by NBC Universal News Group, which is owned by Comcast, who also own loads of other media outlets. Now, there's a handful of other conglomerates just like Comcast, and between them, they own the vast majority of the media. Now, those conglomerates are largely owned by investment firms like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street, who all own large portions of each other, which means that the richest people in the world have figured out a way to weaponize not only their money, but your own money against you. That's what an oligarchy looks like.